the Mandela Effect. It's not just Berenstein Bears, it's not just Kit Kat bars and Febreze logos and movie scenes. And those, not that those aren't cool, but we hear about them all the time. So today's song is by the Beatles. It's called Don't Let Me Down. And it's written by John Lennon towards Yoko as like a, hey, don't let me down kind of thing. And what's interesting about the new area of the line, it couldn't have come out that way at that point. It has to be done recently. Because number one, it tells the future, which he did not know at that point. And number two, there's no way that it could have gotten by. Like, it's kind of a slam to Yoko a little bit, when originally it was kind of like a nice thing or a neutral thing. So anyway, you know this song, right? Don't let me down. So the deal is this: if you're not familiar with this type of content, just stick with me. I'm trying to make it not weird. So basically, here's the handwritten lyrics, like the original ones that are on eBay. And I'm going to show you a bunch of cover bands that are what is called residue of how it used to be. And here's his original lyrics, which is like the king of evidence, with emphasis on the last line. It's a love that has no past or had no past. Not so concerned with has or had. It's the word past that you want to listen to and hear that you hear in these few examples. And it's a love that lasts forever. And then it goes.
It's a love that has no past. It's a love that had no past. No. It's a love that has no past. It's a love that has no past. Oh no. It's a love that has no past. It's a love that has no past. It's a love that has no past. It's a love that has no past.
Now for John's version, at least how it is now.
It's a love that has no past.
Don't lose hope yet that I'm not wasting your time. I found it isolated and it really highlights it. Here we go.
It's a love that has no past. It's a love that has no past. No past.
A love that has no past to a love that has no path. I say it has no path because, not just because I'm a Beatles fan and maybe you're expecting to hear a standard Yoko hit piece, which this is not going to be. I don't want to blow my professionalism with this. I'm saying there's no way that line could have gone through at that time because it's not... He's talking about him and Yoko's love right there. I'm in love for the first time, even though he had Cynthia, but regardless, don't you know it's going to last? It's a love that lasts forever. It's a love that has no path? That doesn't make any sense. So it has to be done retrospectively, or well, it is retroactively, but I'm talking about post, meaning that Matrix has been edited. I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean? It's just, it's crazy. And here's what's even crazier: a bunch of other takes, other alternate versions of this change transcending the form of that line, also over to here. And even when Yoko's sitting next to him, there's no way that she could have heard path at that point. She definitely heard past because that was a nice thing to say. Path is like, it was doomed. So it tells the future.
The love that has no past. Love that has no past. It's a love that has no past. It's a love that has no past.
Yeah, he kind of trails off, but at the same time, it's like, you know, I remember it sounded like path. The only time it sounds like he says past is this one. And yeah, this is redundant, but whatever.
Love that has no past.
Alright, bro. What the fuck does this matter? Well, because everything that you were told about the way the world works might be a lie. Or at least a limited version. Not just you, me, everybody. This place is a little more funky than we thought, and it's exciting, and it could be a little bit weird at first. For some reason, a lot of people have a hard time dealing with this thing, and so people that see it feel compelled to just be like, yo, everybody, look at this thing. It's crazy and it's weird. There's been a little bit of a shade of interpretation from what this is. They're kind of calling it the parallel dimension situation, where it's like you hopped over here and you and your doppelganger from another dimension switch places, or you died and then you're over here now, and all that stuff is like I try to not be bothered by it, but I believe it does this a disservice personally. But at the same time, I'm not judging anybody who comes to that conclusion, because what the hell do I know? But at the same time, it does seem more propagated than the idea that for some reason something is editing the Matrix, which makes me more compelled to think that that might be a solution closer to it anyway, because of the way I see the censorship handling this thing, not only, but also there's a bunch of holes within quantum physics which are not addressed ever, and when they are, they're actively shadow banned. One thing that I see as being pretty much likely is that there is an active agenda towards fragmentation, separation, division, tribalism, whatever you want to call it, or just identification with something which may not be fully you or me, or just misidentification, and also connecting things that shouldn't be connected and disconnecting things that should be connected. It's a really confusing world, and it seems like if there is this deep level of manipulation, they're trying to make all of us feel as though no one can know anything and be confused, and then continue the hamster wheel that is the entire having to pay to live sort of thing. Or I take it all the way down to this dimension having been hacked thousands of years ago to be this thing where energy is only transformed, it can't be created or destroyed, sort of thing. I'm probably wrong with that speculation, but when you think about it, it's like, well, would you want some shitheads to have that sort of a power? This is under the premise that we are way beyond our just physical body here, that a spirit can happen. I don't know if it starts off that way, or if it's something that becomes developed through original thought and taking, as much sovereign free will as you can to decondition yourself and realize what's true on a universal moral scale, despite all the bullshit and all the things that actively make it here. It's like we live in an inverse world, honestly. I'm not going to get into the specifics of how this place got like this, but for some reason the shitty people get farther, and you could challenge that all you want, but it's look at what's promoted in society, with the way culture's gone. Like, it's a cult of displaced values towards, material wealth, and just emphasis on the bullshit. You know this as well as I do. One of the things I find awesome about this Mandela Effect is that sometimes I'm seeing there be an emphasis on true love, the things that kind of surpass this matrix, that are actually of a heart sense. And it's an unpopular opinion. I don't know if it's true or not, but I definitely think it's an intelligently done thing, and not one from just jumping between dimensions or something like that. And if it is from the evil fucks, then here's the deal: wake the fuck up, people, that this technology exists, because then all of a sudden they can 1984 our asses and nobody remembers it being any different. So regardless of who is doing it and what is doing it, we need to be aware of it, because it's real. So what if it's real? I don't want to know. I'd rather take your your fantasy land thing. But there's an idea with like slavery which goes like this: you can't being aware of the oppression enough to be free from it, otherwise you're under its spell. This shouldn't happen within the world that we're told that we have here. So consider it as like a little bit of a glimpse into some true reality. That's what I think, like, truth, quote unquote truthers are like really trying to determine. Like, what's the deal with this place, man? So, like, we just become aware all of a sudden at like 3 years old, and then we just go through our life and we're told this is how it is, bruh. With a Rockefeller-funded education system. I'm talking from an American point of view right now, and that's actually much more privileged than most of the world, a lot of the world, these third world countries, where why the heck, being in an orphanage in India, like, why was this beautiful child born here with a lot less of the world by the balls, quote unquote, from the material sense, than I am, as an American man, like, why was that soul put there and this one put here? Is it all random? It's like, just so many questions. They don't want you to ask those questions, and I'm not saying that I'm better than that orphan by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I think those who can feel the most are the most privileged. You could say that it can go the wrong way too with suffering, and like that's one of the motivations, is that there's a veil that's disguised this true reality. And one of the biggest questions of all time is like, why is suffering so prevalent? You know, so that's why I care about the Mandela Effect, because it opens the portal into a glimpse of true reality. And yeah, we're only three-dimensional beings. We can't know everything, but we definitely sure as hell don't know all that some people here know. Especially with the way that the system is blocking this thing from being known, and they've gaslit it into a new interpretation which is damn far from the true reality of what it is. So anyway, we just love each other a lot more than we do. Stop trying to be right, you know, and listen and shit. Who knows what'll happen. Alright, peace.